Okay, on Hey Yamad Aleph, start from Gufa. It's about 10 lines from the top. We thank Hashem that they're able to learn Torah every day. And we're learning, we should have the base of Migdash immediately. And we're learning for Shlema, my father, and Naftali ben Menuchabela. Okay. Well, what's going on? What happened? So the Gemara starts like this, Gufa. Gufa is to go back to analyze something that we said before in passing. We said Minayan. How do you know? We're talking about someone that is tameh that enters into the temple, or he eats consecrated meat. It was from a karban or something. He was tameh, he wasn't allowed to do that. So how do we know that he has to bring the sacrifice of an oila v'yoret, depending on his tax bracket, depending on how much money he earns? That's what type of sacrifice he brings. How do you know that in order to be obligated in that, he needs to know first that he was tameh, forget that he was tameh, and then know again that he's tameh in order to bring the sacrifice? How do you know that you need that two knowings with one forgetting in the middle? So Talmud Leimer v'nelam say pam, because it says v'nelam twice. The Gemara before learned that v'nelam twice tells me one of them tells me that you're only chayiv if there's a v'nelam on, if you forget that you're tamei, not if you forget that this is the base of Mikdash. That's one. And the second v'nelam teaches me that I have to put v'hu yada before the v'nelam. He knows and then he forgets. He knows and then he forgets. So it's coming to tell me that first there's an initial knowledge and then he forgets. What do I need v'hu yada for? What did we say? No. So v'hu yada is teaching me that there has to be a knowledge. Okay. That was the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yomer, Rabbi says, that's not necessary to have the v'nelam to teach me that he knows and then he forgets, because Hari Yomer v'nelam. Once it says v'nelam, then I know already michlal sheyada. I know already that he knows. I don't need the v'hu yada to play with the v'hu yada to put it before the v'nelam to tell me that first there's initial knowledge and then he forgets. If you say that he forgets, that means that he knew. Can't forget unless you knew. So, and then it says v'hu yada, and then it says that he knew. So harei kan shtei yediyos. That would already mean that there's two. Now, really, v'hu yada, it's not perfectly like this. Shtei yediyos. Okay, fine. So imkein matam lem v'nelam. So then, why do I need the extra v'nelam? That's the chayav al helam tumah al helam mikdash. That's coming to tell me the opposite. It's coming to tell me that there are two types of v'nelams. There's one if he forgets that he's tamei, and the other one is if he forgets that it's the base of mikdash. Now, that was specifically the opinion of Rebbe that holds like our Mishnah, right? Set up our Mishnah. It says that it's shtayim shein arba. Forget that he's tamei, and then do two possible sins: enter the temple or eat consecrated food, or he can forget that he is that he knows that he's tamei, but he forgets this is the temple, or he forgets that this is consecrated food. Those are the two possible. Okay. I don't know what we got from this more than what we said before. I think we quoted exactly that before. Usually Gufa is like analyzes it a little bit more. Okay. Now the Gemara says, Amar Mar. Oh, that's why. We quoted it because now we're going to analyze it. That was the thing. This was just an introduction. Okay, Amar Mar, the master taught. It's interesting because we quoted the Brisa by using the term Gufa. Now we quote the Brisa again using the term Amar Mar. Okay, in the words of Rebbe, it says V'nela mechlal shiyada. It says, and he forgot, must mean that he knew. Now, the reason for that is because v'nelam is the type of verb which is called a nifal, which is usually called, it's passive. Passive verb, so it's discussing the object, not discussing the action. But whatever the case is, it has to mean that something happened. Something had to happen. And it's been concealed, right? It has been concealed. It is concealed, but something had to happen. How do you get that from Benelam? That means that he first knew and then he forgot. Maybe he never knew. It could have said, and it is concealed from him. Then there was no occurrence. Nothing happened that concealed it. It is concealed. It was always concealed. He never knew. What does it mean, Benelam, that he forgot? Must mean that when you say that it became concealed. Yeah, became concealed. That means that he had to know at one point, and then it became concealed. It's interesting because an action would have told that to me more, but it's using the passive and it's still telling it to me that something happened. Usually in the passive, you don't have this tea has been drunk, or I drank the tea, right? So this is the passive, but it still tells me that something happened. Amalei Abaya, so Abaya said that was Rava explaining that. It could have said Vihi Aluma Mimeno, that it's been concealed, that it is concealed. And it would have told me that something actually happened, which means that he knew and then forgot. So Abaya says to Rava, Alamayata Gabisaita. 1 second. This has got to be consistent. If you tell me that the word Benela means that something happened, that he first knew and then he forgot. So look at the case by the Saita. It says the Benela Meni Isha. It's concealed from the husband what she did. What did she do? She was secluded with another man. That's not her husband. And it's been concealed from her husband. So according to the way Rava explained Benelam, that first he knew and then he forgot, right? So then, obviously he knew originally. 2 possibilities. What did he know originally? Either that she was secluded or that she actually had relations with someone. But whatever the case, 2 pshatim here, how to learn this. But if he knew, he must have known before and then he forgot. It says he have a yada, but if he knew before and then forgot, so what happened over here? Must have forgot and then he had relations with her. Then the water wouldn't check. With the water, when it comes to drink the water, then it wouldn't work. Because we learned in a brayso that the man will be cleansed from sin. Talking about the husband for what he did for bringing her. But the woman was going to carry her guilt. When does the water check the wife? That's only if the man is free from sin, which means he hasn't lived with his wife after he's already found her with someone else. But if he's also guilty, then it's not going to check his wife. So how could you tell me that the word v'nelam means that he knew and then forgot? Because it's not going to fit by the Saita. If he knew and then forgot, which probably means that what do you mean he forgot? And then he had relations with her, then the water doesn't work. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you use the word hidden or concealed. What matters is if you use the word became concealed. It's the word became then. That's or became hidden. It doesn't matter hidden concealed. It's the became part of it. Right? It means that you one time knew and then, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah, that's what the Gemara is saying. That the word vanilla means became concealed. You can use became hidden. It doesn't matter. Do they go back and forth, concealed and hidden over there? No, that's a big difference. No, it's the same thing. Right. But they have to add in vanilla means became concealed. They don't add that in there. What do they say? Vanilla. I guess they're enough was, does it? And it was concealed from the eyes of the husband. One second. Let's go back to the other one. I'm going the wrong way. Nelam, and it was concealed. They're making a difference between it was and is, but that's not good enough. Yeah, in the notes they say it became concealed. They fixed it in the notes. Okay.
Was it just like past times?
Right. Right. But in the notes they fix it that they mean became. Okay. And we have another question now. Another question is Visu and also Gabi Taira. It says that it's been concealed from the eyes of all living, and from the birds of the heaven it's concealed, it's hidden. If you want to tell me that the word benelam means that it was known and then was forgotten, then what you would really be telling me is that the Torah was known to someone, but he forgot it. Question is, I'm sorry. Obviously, that would mean that someone knew the whole Torah and then forgot it. But the problem is, the pasuk says that no man knows its value. Elam Rabaya. So Abaya says, "Kasava Rebbe, Yedias Beis Rabbi Shmei Yediah." What a big chiddush. Switch the pshat entirely. Yedias Beis Rabbi means that he learned the halachas. He knows that there's a concept of impurity which would forbid him from entering the temple. How do we answer the question? V'nelam, and it says v'nelam, which means that he knew. What did he know? He knew the law. How does this help us? I think what it's doing is it's now explaining what v'nelam would mean by those other things. V'nelam, that it's been learned, but he knew the law, but he wasn't aware of what he was doing. He knew the law that someone that's Tameh would not be allowed to enter the temple. But when he touched it, he didn't realize that he was touching something that was Tameh. He wasn't conscious of it. How does this answer our question? Does that mean that what does this tell me? So Benelam, back to the husband, means that he knows that his wife is not allowed to do that. Coming to Torah means he knows that there is a Torah.
It's not like he didn't know what he didn't know. It's like he knew and he forgot.
We're not saying that he knew what happened. We're switching. To, if we say he knew what happened, then we have a problem with the Saita, and we have a problem with Torah. It means he knows the Torah and he forgot it. Or he knew what happened with his wife and he forgot. I'm not saying that now. Now we're saying that he only knew that it exists because he learned about it, that it exists. He knows that it exists. He doesn't know what exactly happened here. He wasn't conscious of what happened. He didn't put it together. Right. So what comes out now is that he went to yeshiva, so he knows the concept of tumah. It's not that he's forgetting that he knew that he was tameh and he forgot. Maybe he never knew that he was tameh. Maybe he knows the concept of tumah, but he didn't realize that he became tameh. Nipshat. That's what it sounds like. Just knowing the concept is good enough. Amalei Rav Papa Abaya. So Rav Papa is a student of Abaya. Says to Abaya, "Ela diktani ein ba yediyah betchila v'yesh ba yediyah b'seif." Me could less the yediyah space. 1 second. How does this work with our Mishnah? The Mishnah said someone that knew at the beginning, but didn't know at the end. They didn't know at the beginning. How do you have someone that doesn't know? Is there anyone that didn't go to yeshiva? Amrulayin says, yeah, we have people like that. A child that was taken captive, and he wasn't able to go to yeshiva, so he would be someone that doesn't know the halachas. That's to explain our Mishnah. Tosfos says, why do we have to explain the Mishnah? What about to explain the pasuk that says v'nelam? Who's it referring to if it's not if everyone knows? Right. Yeah, we have a. This is not telling me. Usually, Tinnik Shenishba is usually used to tell me why you can't hold them guilty, you can't hold them accountable. So Tinnik Shenishba here is just telling me an example of someone that didn't learn. It's not in the same context. Okay. See a Shabbos time Shein Arba. The carrying out on Shabbos is 2, which is 4. The way we learned it was there's 2 possibilities of taking from a private domain into a public domain. Either the wealthy man puts it outside, or the poor man lifts it up and takes it outside. And then, which is 4, which is 2 possibilities of it entering in. Either the poor man puts it in, or the wealthy, or the rich man, the homeowner, stands outside and takes it. Now, when it comes to Hilchos Shabbos, you need 2 parts to the malacha. Someone has to lift it up, and that same person has to put it down. It's called akira and hanacha. You have to lift it up and put it down. If one person lifts it up, and someone else and passes it to someone, and the other person puts it down, so then the malacha was split in half. You don't have any person there that's high. If there's 2 people that did each 1/2 of the malacha. Yeah. So, for example, I'm sorry. Oh yeah. For example, if the rich man takes it off from the ground and puts it into the hand of the poor man. The poor man did not take it off the ground; it was placed into his hand, and he just takes it out and puts it down. So the poor man didn't do the akira, but he did the hanacha. In between the akira and the hanacha, you have to have a changing of location from private to public or public to private. Ran Hassam, we learned over there in Maseches Shabbos, you'd see a Shabbos taking out on Shabbos time Shein Arba b'fnim. It's 2, which is 4 on the inside. The Gemara is going to explain that means 2 ways of doing hachnasa, of taking it in. Time Shein Arba b'chutz, 2 which is 4, which is outside. Now that's 2 which is 4 twice means 8. The Gemara asks, why in our Mishnah Maseches Shavuos does it say 2 that are 4 and it doesn't elaborate? So over there it says 2 that are 4 inside, 2 that are 4 outside. Sounds like there's a difference between the way you learn, I don't know, biology in high school to the way you learn it in college. Everything gets just way more complicated. You learn the same stuff. It's more complicated. Well, everything they teach you in elementary school, they teach you the basic, the outline, and then when they learn it again, they tell you, by the way, what we told you, we left out all the details. It's a lot of details. Huh? Yeah, so what happened over here is in Maseches Shavuos it says 2 that are 4. So okay, child comes home 2 that are 4. Then he learns Maseches Shabbos. This is 1 second. It's 2 that are 4 inside. Then there's another 2 that are 4 that are outside. So the question is, why by Shabbos does it say the more complicated one, more details, and over here it only tells me this, where it says, "Hasam dikar Shabbos Tani Avos told us, Achad Lavikar Shabbos Avos Tani told us late Tani." So we'd say, well, but it's Maseches Shabbos. They're trying to teach you the laws of Shabbos. They gives you the father-in-laws in the offshoots. So there's Avis and Toldos. So what are the Avis and what are the Toldos? The Avis would be taking out, carrying from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, and the Toldos bringing in from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. So it did it over there. The Gemara says, Avis Ma'niya, what would be the Avis? Yitzias, that means carrying out. The Gemara says, 1 second. 1 second. Yitzias, Tartiab. You only have 2 possibilities of taking it out. Either the usher, the balabayas, lifted it up and put it outside, or the ani put his hand in, lifted it up, and took it outside. That's the only 2 possibilities. How do you have 2 that are 4? And then the same with the Toldos. You bring it in, you only have 2 possibilities. Either the usher puts his hand outside and brings it in, or the ani lifts it up and puts it inside. It's only 2.
Station down.
Remember that Hayom Yom with the guy that the Reb Nachum Shnobler said, Amen Yeshmei
Rabbi got that.
Yeah, so someone said Nachum Shnobler got heavy from saying Amen Yeshmei Rabba. But I got heavy from saying Bari Minim Mizayna. So okay. So we have a problem here because you have 2 that are 4 with bringing in, 2 that are 4 that are taking out. We don't even know what that is. We only know that there's 2, which is 4 in total, not 2 that are 4 of each. Well, maybe we can say like this. Maybe there's 2 that are 4, but only 2 that are chayav. The other ones is going to be that the balabayas did half the malacha and the ani did half the malacha. In other words, it would go like this. The 2, let's say for the avis, the balabayas lifts up the item and puts it outside into the ani's hand. The other one is the ani puts his hand inside, lifts it up, it takes it out of the balabayas' hand and puts it down outside. Okay, it's chayav. But then I have 2 other types of eitzah. The ani puts his hand inside, and the balabayas puts it into the ani's hand, and then the ani takes it outside, puts it down. He's pater because he only did half the malacha. He didn't lift it up. The balabayas. Then there's another type of eitzah. Other type of eitzah is the balabayas puts his hand outside with the item, and the ani takes it out and puts it down. Both pater, but those are both eitzah. So maybe 2 that are 4, 2 that are chayav, which is 4, but they're pater. And then we'd say the same thing. You don't have to go through it, but you say the same thing with bringing in, right? So Gemara says, but you can't do that. But because over here we have 2 that are 4, and we want it all to be symmetrical. That we have 2 that are 4 for Shabbos, 2 that are 4 for Tumah, 2 that are 4 for Nagaim, 2 that are 4 for oaths, right? So we want them all to be the same, that similar pattern. So Maris Nagaim Ktani, Mahazim Kulachiva, Apachas Kulachiva. Just like the Maris Nagaim, we're not saying that any of them are we're not saying that any of them are pater. They're all chayav. So when it comes to Shabbos, they should probably be the same, that they should all be chayav. It's interesting because in Shabbos we don't say Maris Nagaim. We're asking on the Mishnah in Shabbos. We're not asking on our Mishnah. Maybe that Mishnah is different, but the Gemara doesn't suggest that.
Can I ask a question? Because I didn't want to ask one quick. When you talk about the Nelam, does anyone ever interpret the word the Nelam as kind of a denial state? Like, because I mean, the people do think, but they don't want to think that it really happened. Like, especially with the woman and the husband, So no, that didn't happen. So now let me that, kind of, or just I didn't really do that. Has that ever been an opinion of anyone?
I'm not sure if Rashi maybe is. No,
Because it's a real thing that people
Now you have
do.
to see if Rashi, and somebody saying Rashi may be referring to that. It says Vuhu Yada Ninu. Shehirgish Kishinagai. Rashi says that he felt when he touched it, but he didn't meditate on it. So there is like a type of like where you
Just saying, it sounded like another interpretation.
right. Okay, so Elamar of Papa Hasam Dikar Shabbos Tani Chiva Peturi Hacha Chiva Tani Peturi like exactly the teretz. I was asking that 1 second. We're different. Our Mishnah has to fit with Maris Negoyim, but that Mishnah doesn't, and that's what Papa says. Papa says that over there. It's the main thing. The main discussion. That's the main discussion of Shabbos. So you can say more details. Over here, you're not going to say more details. You're just going to say Chiyuvi because it's supposed to be similar to Maris Negoyim. Okay. Chiyuvim ma'neyu. What are the chiyuvim? Yitzias. Taking out. Yitzias tartidam, but there's only 2 possibilities of taking out. Umar says, well, shtaim daitza, shtaim dachnasa. That's the way we learned it. It's 2 taking out and 2 bringing in. We said that's also chayav, right? Bringing in is also chayav, just like taking out. The Gemara asks, but it doesn't say bringing in. It says taking out. Yatsa means to go out. How do you say to take out?
Uber.
No.
Lehotzi.
Lehotzi is to take out. So Amar Ravashi says Tana Achnasa Nami Etzah Karilei, that our author of the Mishnah says that Achnasa, bringing in, is called taking out.
Because you're taking it out of the first place.
Taking it out of the first place. Where do we know that from? The Tanan, it was taught in the Mishnah. If someone takes, you see, this is the Mishnah. In the Mishnah, in Masechta Shabbos, one of the Mishnayos over there has all 39 malachas. And in the list of the 39 malachas, later on in the Masechta, it's not at the beginning. Later on in the Masechta, it has the 39. In that list, towards the end, maybe the last one, is Hamaitzi Mir Shusler Shus. Takes from one domain to another domain. Takes out from one domain to another, which is referring to either taking out or bringing in. Which is chayav. And we're not talking about over there where maybe he's bringing in, and we called it taking out. So it's no problem taking out. How do you know? Maybe he's taking out from a private domain to a public domain. If that's the case, the Gemara says, then it should have said clearly that he takes from a private to a public. Why does it say from one domain to another? Because it doesn't matter. Even if he's taking from a public to a private, it would still be Haitzah. The time am I? What's the reason? Why is it called Haitzah, taking out, if you're actually bringing in? Tana was taught in the Brisa. Tana, the author of the Brisa, anytime when you remove an item from its location, it's called taking out. That's what he calls it. Amar Ravina. Ravina says, Mastis Nami Deka. Can prove this from the Mishnah as well. Tani, it says, Yitzir Shabbos Shtaim Shein Arba, V'fnim Shtaim Shein Arba Spachutz. It says that the taking out on Shabbos is 2, which is 4 on the inside, and 2, which is 4 on the outside. But Kamafar Shachnasa. Then if you look further in the Mishnah, it talks about how it brings it in. And it says, calls it Yitzir Shabbos. So the Mishnah itself is clear that he describes bringing something in as pizza. Shmamina. Rava says Rishis Ketani Rishis Sabastayim. Okay, Rava's answer is a little bit difficult. Rava says that Yitzir Shabbos, the taking out on Shabbos, doesn't mean taking out. Yitzir Shabbos means the domains of Shabbos are 2. There's 2 domains which give me 4. 2 domains, Rishis Yachid, Rishis Raman, which give me 4. I would have liked it to mean which give me 4. Malkum Patur and Carmelis, but that's not what it's referring to. It's what it's referring to is two possibilities here. Taisvis says,
Excuse me.
yeah,
The pasuk by the woman getting married, wouldn't that be approved? Because the only reason she's Yatsin Vesavia is because she's becoming married to somebody else. It's by Bascon, right? Or something like that. So you see, Yatsasa can mean from there
to go in.
To go in, because the only way Yatsasa is when she's going in somewhere else.
Yeah, but you don't know that entering is called
but you don't have another word. It's just hayas.
I know. I understand.
That was a wild thing in my mind.
So there's two possibilities in Taisvis. One is he quotes Rashi in Shabbos that says, through the two Rishuyas, I have 4 prohibitions. 2 of entering and 2 of taking out. That's how we would learn it by us.
Why is it saying Yetzia, not Hotza? Latzet is to leave.
Right. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, Taisvis and Shabbos on the first page over there discuss that. Why it says Yitzias.
Because he's doing it. Because like by Yitzias Mitzrayim, Hashem, for Hotzesi, Hashem was doing it. It doesn't say be a tough. I'm just maybe.
Yeah, that's true. That was the teretz of what was this? Whenever you move something, automatically you're taking out. Even if you're going in, you're taking it out from there. That was that Gemara. Now we have Rava. Rava says that the term Yitzias doesn't mean to take out. The term Yitzias means location. Rishuyas, a domain. What does it mean 2 that are 4? So 2 that are 4 means that there's 2 domains which give me 4 halachas. And then Taisa says, why did it say 2 that are 4 inside and 2 that are 4 outside? It's only 2 that are 4 inside and 4 that are outside, because it's the same 2. It's only the domains. It's a little bit problematic. So the Ri has a different pshad. It says there's domains of Shabbos. Yitzia Shabbos. It's not Yitzia Shabbos Shtayim. Yitzia Shabbos. There's domains of Shabbos. Shtayim Shein Arba. There's 2 halachas which turn into 4 halachas. Shtayim is not going on the domains. Shtayim is going on the halachas. That's how it is. All right. Now we start the difficult stuff. See how we can get through this complex. The Goyim. It goes like this. Maris the Goyim Shtayim Shein Arba. The spots of Negoyim of Tzaras are 2 that are 4. Tanan Hassam was taught in the Mishnah. Maris Negoyim, the appearance of the leprosy, Shnayim, there's 2, Shein Arba, which are 4. What are the 2 that are 4? So it says like this. Baheres is the name of the most brightest Bahir. It's shining. It's the most brightest white spot that there is. It's Azaka Shelik, that's snow white. Doesn't have the end snow white end, just snow white. Shniala, that's very, very white. Shniala, secondary to it is Kasida Heichal, is like the lime of the Heichal. Means lime, like they put on the baseball fields, they have the white lime, they have lime. So that's white, right?
I don't know if it's lime.
That's what they call it. Yeah, it's a ground lime. Yeah, it's white. Okay, it's a plastic. So that's secondary to it. Now, what's a little bit confusing here is that when we say that it's secondary to it, it doesn't mean that it's the second level of whiteness. We mean that it's an offshoot of the first whiteness. But it's not the second level of whiteness. It's not the second brightest. I'll see in a second.
Snow White is the fairest of them all.
What is that? Oh,
Snow White is the fairest of them all.
Seis is the second level of whiteness. It's Tzemer Lavan. It's white like wool. White wool. Wool light. Wool white. And Shniala, what's its secondary to it is Kekrumbeya, is like the membrane of the egg. I don't know if it means the shell or the membrane. Anyway, okay. So it turns out that I have two parents and I have two offspring. The two parents is the Beheres and the Seis. And the Beheres we said was Snow White. Said the Seis was wool white, right? And then the Snow White has the Beheres has a secondary, which we said was like plaster. And the wool has a secondary, which we said is like the egg. So it turns out that if you would list them in order, the order of brightness would be different than the order that the Mishnah gave. In the order of brightness, you would have snow, wool, plaster, and egg. That's not the order of the Mishnah. The Mishnah gave me the order: the snow and the plaster, the wool and the egg. So if you want to just to clarify, like if I had what's called the chart here, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, but 1 and 3 are connected, and 2 and 4 are connected. That would be the parent and offspring. Yeah. But the offspring of one is not the parent, is not higher than the parent of the other. The offspring. The two parents are the most white, and then they each have offspring, which are.
Why don't you say there's two categories? One is animal related, eggs and the wool coming from sheep, and the other is just natural snow and limestone.
Very good. Very good. Dr. Stein is giving us a way to connect it. He's saying that the second level is animal related because it's wool and egg, and the other one is mineral. It's limestone or snow.
Called archwell.
No, it's not in it.
He says it's not from art school.
Put it in there.
I'm not even looking in it.
Okay. Amar Rab Chanina, that all of that is I complicated things because it's about to get slightly complex. I wanted to give you that first. Amar Rab Chanina says, Man Tanamaris Nagaim. Who's the author of this Mishnah that lists it out in this interesting way? We say it's the Lake Rabbi Akiva. We don't know who it is, but we know it's not Rabbi Akiva. Why? Rabbi Akiva has a different interpretation. Even though Merzula Mailam Mizu, came Tiarta Sedecham Militstar. According to Rabbi Akiva, I'm sorry, Zula Mailam Mizu. Yeah, if it would be Rabbi Akiva, Tiarta Sedecham Militstar. Rabbi Akiva says, let's review it like this. Yeah, the spot of leprosy needs to be a certain size of a bean. If I have Snow White the size of a bean, okay, the client comes and says he's tummy. Let's say I have half of it is the size of a bean, and half of it, half the size of a bean, half a bean is white, Snow White, and half of it is wool. No, not wool. Let's go to the egg. I jumped to, can't be that. Plaster. From Snow White to plaster, that's how it goes. From 1 to 3. Snow White to plaster. So in our Mishnah, because it says that's the Tolda, Shniala, what's secondary to it, which means the Av is the Snow White, but secondary to it is the plaster. So that means that if I would half of it would be white, it would be Snow White, and half would be plaster, that would combine to be the half of a bean, should make him tameh.
And if it's from the other parent,
It won't combine. The other parent won't combine. However, according to Rabbi Akiva, it's supposed to combine each one with one level up. He says Zula Mila Mizu. According to our Mishnah, how does it combine 1 with 3 and 2 with 4? According to Rabbi Akiva, 1 combines with 2 and 2 with 1. 2 combines with 3 or 3 with 2, and 3 combines with 4 and 4 with 3. But it's not going to combine 1 with 3 or 4 with 2 the way we wanted it. Says the Rabbi Akiva comes Zulma came to hard to Sidechel Mitzvah. Sidahechel, which was number 3, is not going to end up combining with anything. Why? Who do you want it to combine with? The Tzarfi Bad Beheres, you want it to combine with its parent Beheres? It could say Stadifmine, no. But that's 3 to 1. You have Seis, which is number 2, which is higher than it. And according to Rabbi Akiva, 3 can only combine with 2 or 4, but it can't combine with 1. The Tzarfi Bad, they say, so maybe you'll have it combine with 3 will combine with 2. It says, no, it can't combine with 2. Lav told the Dideyu. But in our Mishnah, we clearly said that in our Mishnah we clearly said that we're dealing with parents and offshoots. So 1 will combine with 3. So our Mishnah can't be Rabbi Akiva. It messes up the whole order. So Ihachi, the Gemara says, you're worried about Sid, you're worried about number 3, the plaster. Who's the egg going to combine with? The Tzarfi Badi says, do you want to combine with number 2? 4 with 2? What about number 3? According to Rabbi Akiva. Tzarfi Badi said, okay, so let it combine with 3. It says La Barmino, but it's not its offshoot. It only combine with 2 according to our Mishnah. So why do you only ask me on that? The Gemara says, hi, mine. 1 sec. If we wouldn't have the question of the Sidda Heichal, Krumbeya Lekasha, we're on top of 6a. Then we wouldn't have the problem from the egg, because the Afagav the Krumbeya Mitatoida says, even though the egg is less than the egg, which is number 4, is less than number 2, right? But Rahman Amar, but it says in the Torah, the Eberster says, the merciful one says, La seis v'la sapachas. You have to look at the verse. It says seis and its offshoot, and its secondary one. That means the Torah clearly tells me sapachas tfeil l'seis, that the sapachas, which means the secondary one, is secondary to the seis. So number 4 is secondary to 2. Afagav the manchas amine 2, even though it's much less than it, because you skip 3. Nevertheless, the pasuk tells me clearly that it would combine with that. If it would be an egg, half the color of the egg, and half the color of a seis, which was wool, that would combine, because I have that in the pasuk. Ela Sidda Heichel Kasha. What's going to be with the Sidda Heichel, which is, he's sort of ignoring that there's a sapachas to Baheres, because the pasuk says la seis v'la sapachas v'la Baheres. So it's only saying that the sapachas goes with the seis, not with the Baheres. But the Sidda Heichel, which is supposed to be the secondary of the Beheres, but that's not clear in the Torah that should combine with that. So probably it's more white. That's funny that it uses that term. It's more white to say, it's more clear to say that our Mishnah is not Rabbi Akiva. Okay, let's leave it over here. Okay.
Thank you.